Sometimes in football there's an age-old question that rears its ugly head. Play well and get nothing, or play woeful and steal a last-minute equaliser to stay in the playoff hunt. Lucas Akins may have sparked scenes of joy at Stockport on Saturday with the Stags' only shot on target, but with 11 games to go, being sat 3 points off of the playoffs with 2 games in hand, where does your feelings lie with that aforementioned age-old question? The excuses of injuries and suspensions doesn't wash now. We are where we are, we have what we have. I would say, and what will be, but that's very much down to the players and the manager, whose reluctance to inject youth, I mean, come on Nigel, 23's hardly youth in football now, is it? Was evident yet again. Anyway, coming up tonight on the Mansfield Matters Podcast, we'll reflect on those scenes at Stockport, delve into that question, discuss the impact of long throws and why Akins' goal could prove vital in those last 11 games. At least we would if I were actually hosting tonight. Cam's in the hot seat again. Sometimes in football there's an age-old question that rears its ugly head. Play well and get nothing, or play woeful and steal a last-minute equaliser to stay in the playoff hunt. Lucas Akins may have sparked scenes of joy at Stockport on Saturday with the Stags' only shot on target, but with 11 games to go, being sat 3 points off of the playoffs with 2 games in hand, where does your feelings lie with that aforementioned age-old question? The excuses of injuries and suspensions doesn't wash now. We are where we are, we have what we have. I would say, and what will be, but that's very much down to the players and the manager, whose reluctance to inject youth, I mean, come on, Nigel, 23's hardly youth in football now, is it? Was evident yet again. Anyway, coming up tonight on the Mansfield Matters podcast, we'll reflect on those scenes at Stockport, delve into that question, discuss the impact of long throws and why Aiken's goal could prove vital in those last 11 games. At least we would if I were actually hosting tonight. Cam's in the hot seat again, so who knows what's going to happen. I've got full faith in him, don't worry. As always, this is the show for the fans, by the fans, so come and leave your comments, questions and opinions in the live feed comments. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast, where you should always have hope in the sands of time.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast. I have no idea what's going off tonight. It just seems to be a major issue with everything that's going off tonight. So, welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast, the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield matters. And things obviously are a little bit different tonight. You've got me hosting. Craig's not here. Fantastic. First thing. No Alan this week because he's unwell, but of course, we do have the Edwin Stowstag himself, Mr. Clive Parkin.
Good evening.
There we go. How are we doing, Clive?
I'm tickety-boo, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to having a decent chat.
Fantastic. We're having major technical difficulties here at the moment. I don't really know what's happening. There's things on the screen that aren't supposed to be on the screen, so I do apologise if there's any issues. And then there is no Alan Wilson tonight, there's no Nick, there's no Nathan, so as highly requested, we've drafted in a special guest from the Her Game 2 team at Mansfield Town. She joined us last week for the Her Game 2 special and everybody enjoyed it, so we thought we'd get somebody back. So we just want to welcome Mansfield Town Her Game 2 advocate, Keely.
Hiya.
But for
Hi,
second
Keely.
time podcast, first time online.
It is, yeah.
How are we doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good, fantastic. I do apologise if there's any technical difficulties. My computer's running like a bag of ass. It's not doing anything at the moment. So we'll crack straight on. We've got a few things to talk about. We'll talk Stockport a little bit later on, but we're going to start with a little bit of news. Obviously, Elliot Hewitt signing a new contract before Saturday's game. Keely, what's your thoughts on that one? Because obviously, he's been a very influential part this season. He's gone from the start of last season probably being one of our worst players to ending the season as one of our best. And then this season, all bar the odd injury here and there, he's by far been our standout player this season.
Yeah, yes. I'm really, really excited that he's signed a 2-year deal. I know he's, like you say, wasn't sort of the best to start with. But this season, especially, he's been the most outstanding. He's been consistent, and I think him when he's obviously been injured and not played.
Yeah, and obviously it's frustrating when you do have such a player missing, because have we got a player that's particularly been able to cover? You'd probably say no. Callum Johnson's been brought in to cover in that position as well, but he's been out injured. So having someone like Elliot Hewitt back, especially on Saturday when the Stockport attack very much came down the wings a lot of the time, to actually have a naturally right-footed right back that actually knows the position rather than Lucas Akins or Jordan Bowery.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's definitely missed, obviously, when he don't play. And for me, he just brings the back sort of together, along with obviously playing with Arbottle, Kilgore, obviously, and with Perch is obviously they are really, really well.
Clive, what's your thoughts on it? Because obviously it is a position that we've possibly struggled with this season through injuries or just playing players in the wrong position. So to get someone like Elliot Hewitt back, and especially to tie him down to a year and a half deal, is surely just fantastic news, because potentially we could have lost him in the summer for nothing, and we could have had a Danny Johnson-esque situation where we've got a player of quality on our hands, and he's essentially could have gone for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he's our player of the year, definitely, and I think we are a much worse side without him in it. It's no mistake that the goal we scored, albeit very late in the game, at Stockport, was a result of a service he gave to Lucas Aiken. So I think he brings something to our side that is badly missed when it's not there. I take the point about with the recruitment in January. We took on Johnson as a cover for that position, or even to allow Hewitt to play more centrally. But Mansfield Town did what it's doing very well at late, and that's to buy players who were automatically then injured for long periods of time. So he's out of the frame for a while, and it's a good job that Hewitt is made of sterner stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. And obviously you spoke there briefly about Callum Johnson, another player that Nigel Clough obviously highly rated when he came in, but he's another player that we've potentially lost for a longer spell than potentially we should have done because of pushing him back in too early. Same with Stephen McLaughlin at Northampton. What's your thoughts on that one? Because it's just a strange situation. Why rush players back so quickly? I know we've not got players that naturally play in them positions, but we've got players who are capable, Bowery, Aikens, etc., being able to play in these positions. Is it detrimental to us to be forcing them back too quickly, especially with the running that we've got? It's pretty much Saturday, Tuesday till the end of the season, or by the odd week.
Well, it's down to the management at the end of the day. I mean, I've heard a couple of occasions now where Clough has said, "Oh well, the player said he was match fit, and we took him on his word. Then we had to take him off midway through the game." Well, it shouldn't be down to the player to make that decision. They've got medics there. They've got people, highly paid, highly trained physiotherapists on board. They've got people who know exactly what state a player's in. And then to rush them back, to me, is folly, especially as we've got younger players begging for a chance. And that's the biggest criticism I have. And I know Craig believes this as well. The biggest criticism of the club, and when I say that I mean club, I guess, is why not give some of these younger players a chance? If they're not going to get a chance when we're down to the bare bones, as we are at the moment, when are they going to get a chance?
Obviously, referring to younger players as in Jason Law and James Gale specifically. Keeley obviously brought them both on at Stockport on Saturday, but he brought them both on in the 88th minute. What benefit do they get out of that? Yes, they were part of the move that got the goal, just being in the area and just being actually on the pitch when it happened, but actually influencing the game, they didn't really have a chance to really do anything. And it just seems a running theme this season that we've got numerous players out injured and we've got the quality on the bench, but just Clough doesn't want to use them, or he uses them at the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you say, 8th minute, it's not really giving them that chance to prove themselves, to show obviously what they are capable of doing. And, potentially bringing them on earlier, who knows what might have happened. It might not have ended 1-1. It could have been a win to us, because I believe that obviously the second half, we did play obviously better than the first half, and we did keep fighting. But I think if we'd have given them fresh legs and, like you say, the younger people, like the chance to prove themselves, then, who knows what they might bring.
Well, exactly. You've got to look at previous instances. Jeez, I can't get my words out tonight. Where we have bought players on, and you think back to Crewe earlier this season, and Jason Law played a pivotal part in Will Swan's equalising goal. They've shown glimpses of what they're able to do. So it's just very frustrating that they don't get the chance to prove something. So it's either Clough just doesn't value them, maybe, or it's just a case of something on the training ground doesn't fit, or they just don't fit the playing style. it's a strange one, but yeah, it's a very strange one. Just another quick bit of news before we talk all things Stockport and podcast predictions as usual. And we've got a video from Craig again. He's pitched in his 2 pence for this evening via video. I'm sure we'll get Nathan's, Nick's and Alan's later on as well. But we've got a little bit of news. So obviously the Leyton Orient game that was postponed a couple of weeks ago was supposed to be the Mansfield Town her Game 2 designated fixture. So I want to hand over to Keely to give us the bit of information, a bit of news that we found out today regarding this weekend's fixture.
Yeah, so today we've found out that Saturday is going to be the dedicated fixture. So everything that we had planned, I think, is still going ahead. So there'll be Monica in, and there will be activities going off all around. Me, Kira, and Emma are going to be there, so we're going to obviously be getting some stickers, badges out, and yeah, all the plans are fully confirmed yet, but I think everything that we had originally planned is still going ahead, so fingers crossed.
Obviously, it was very disappointing to lose the Leyton Orient game to the weather. Obviously, it might have been detrimental to the team. Obviously, we've got a good bit of momentum going to lose the game in that sense. But also, you'd put all this hard work in and then to lose it on the Friday. It's great that it's been able to be rearranged, but obviously it must have been frustrating when the Leyton Orient game was called off on the Friday.
Yeah, definitely. When we all woke up, especially me and Emma, because we're at Alston, really looked out the door. No, like, why has it been called off? So it was frustrating to know that we'd got this, got excited, got everything, about ready, and then to have it called off. Yeah, it was a bit guttering, but we're looking forward to that.
I'm just trying to find all the activities that are going off. I'm trying to find the original article. Do you know off your top of your head what was everything that was happening?
There was Monica speaking. I'm not sure if it was before or after the game. We've got some going off in family stand, so some like colouring of her Game 2 logo. Then, like I say, we're there. We're walking out onto the pitch with the players and 2 of the younger players from the ladies team. So yeah, I think that's about everything that I can think of off the top of my head. Like I say, we've not had it confirmed that everything's still going ahead, so hopefully everyone's still available and we can do it.
Yeah, we do hope so. I can't find everything that was happening. No.
Picture board, walking around with pictures and getting feedback from all supporters. We'd like everyone to join in with us and support us and get behind it. But yeah, photos with the photo board, and I think we're definitely going to be in Sandys being 12:30 and 1 o'clock.
Fantastic. And if you see me around, I'll be taking photos and recording bits for you guys as well. So if you see me, come say hi. We'll get some photos with the board as well. So there's plenty going off on Saturday. Let's hope the weather holds out this time. Fingers crossed. So we'll move on to Stockport. Now, I want to sum it all this way. There's the easy way, the hard way, and the Mansfield Town way, Clive. What is it about Mansfield this season and coming from behind? Statistically, we are the comeback kings of the EFL across all 3 divisions. We've gained more points from a losing position this season than anybody else in all 3 divisions. That's a mental stat, but does that just show that we're just not a good starter, or we're just maybe a little bit, inept in certain positions and just don't start games well, or is it just show the hunger and desire that the team have got that can actually turn a game around and get a result? It's
a strange tactic if that's the case. I mean, to to come from behind, you've first of all got to lose a goal somewhere. And I have to say that their goal was well taken. I have no real problem with that. Although we didn't defend very well. We spent too long pontificating about whether the throw-in was fair or not. And once you've lost it, get on with the game. And we didn't, and we weren't well shaped when the cross came. But he took it well, the lad did. And you know, there were two fairly poor teams on the game, I think. They just about merited that. I won their win. I think we stole the point. But I'll take it. And I think our threadbare squad. It was shown to be what it is on Stockport, and I'm guessing it's going to be the same against Grimsby on Wednesday. I don't see too many people coming back in the interim, so we have to find ways of first of all not shipping goals, and then we've got a real chance. And I think you know, we'd have been out of the frame completely without Kilgore, I think, and Hewitt are the two players I cite as being the most reliable defensive players we've got. I think we have liabilities either side of them. I think Harbottle's a great young player, but he's a bit fragile. And I think who else is in the back lineup?
Perch, Kilgore.
Yeah, well, Perch is now a lot slower than he needs to be to do the job he's required to do. He's got wisdom, I suppose, on his side. He's got experience, but you know, a good quick player takes him every time. So we have an issue, especially when McLaughlin's not available. So I think we are where we are, and we've got to make the best of what we've got. But just going back to the youth thing, I think Nigel asked the question whether anybody raised it at the fans forum. I honestly can't remember, if I'm being honest. But I know we query it regularly. And I come back to players who aren't getting in the side, young players. Law is a classic example. He's the longest serving player at the club, and he doesn't get a chance. Surely the fairest thing to happen would be to move him on. Because he's not developing his career at Mansfield Town. And I think that's terribly unfair. And if Clough doesn't trust him, doesn't rate him, or doesn't see how he fits in the squad, let him go. And that's true of others as well. But it strikes me that Clough has his favourites. He has people he has faith in. You know, he absolutely has trust in Aikins, and most of the time I'm happy with that. He seems to think Boateng's a better player than he is. I think Boateng is not half of the player he once was. And certainly he was a wasted shirt at Stockport, in my opinion. So I think what we can't afford is holes in an already small squad. And, you know, the injuries we've got aren't going to be overturned in the short term. So we've got to make the best of what we've got. So I think I'd like to see a bit more pitch time for these people that came on for 2 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever it was. I find that an absolutely pathetic thing to do. And I don't pretend to understand why he does it.
Keely, what's your thoughts on that one? Because Clive very much does raise valid points there about Clough potentially having his favourites. You look at somebody like Danny Johnson, who's on the bench, doesn't particularly look overly interested when he comes on, compared to someone like James Gale, who gets minutes, if not seconds sometimes in a game, but always shows that hunger and desire. Jason Law, another one, doesn't get the chance, but when he does come on, he runs for every ball, he's closing the play down, he's linking up play, compared to someone like Hiram Boateng, who's just been, to be honest, he's probably been my biggest disappointment this season. You look at the seasons that he had previously for Exeter and MK Dons, and we're thinking at the start of this season, we've potentially got one of the best players in the league, to now, like Clive said about Saturday at Stockport, he was a wasted shirt. He bypassed the game too much and lost the ball a lot. It was a very frustrating game to watch.
He looked lazy.
It did, yeah. I agree with everything that Clive said, to be honest. You know, if Clough's not going to play lads, then, you know, why not let him go and, like, you know, get the potential elsewhere. But I do think that he should be playing him. I think he should be giving him that more time, because I believe that they will go on and they will make something of themselves, and they will be a big benefit to the team. For the past few games that I've and watched, he's gone down in and Saturday was definitely. I wouldn't have played him, if I was honest. I'd have played probably Law, and give him that chance to show what he's made of.
Oh, she's dropped out. I don't know what's happened there. We'll get her back.
I think one of the other problems we've got, Cam, is we're missing Maris, because he puts the work in, and it allows more svelte players like Boateng's reputation would have us believe he still is, to develop a game differently. In fact, let's remember he put that sublime pass through that Danny scored at Wimbledon.
Yes.
So I think that the guy's got talent. He's just not brought it to his game lately, and I think we can't afford that level of passenger. And I say we're missing Maris. We're missing one or two players, no question about that. But our midfield, which was when we started the season, we got the best bunch of midfielders anywhere, and now we're scratching around with people that aren't doing a very good job or aren't playing in their preferred positions. So it is, as we say this over and over again, we are where we are. We've got what we've got. If we can somehow get into the playoffs with this team, it'll be a good thing. I think and then of course when you're in the playoffs, anything can happen, as we showed last year. Sorry, Keith, I stole your thunder when you.
Oh, God.
I don't know what happened. Technical issues. It won't be a Mansfield Matters podcast unless something went wrong. Rich in the comments says, didn't need to bring Macca on against Northampton when Law was on the bench. Ended up bringing Law on anyhow. Law only came on the 89th minute as a last throw of the dice. Boateng's been rubbish all game, and Law could do a much better job. He goes on to say that Boateng made little or no attempt to close down the play for the cross that led to the goal. Yeah, what do you think's the issue, Keely, with Hiram Boateng? Is it a confidence thing? Is it an actual ability thing, or is it the style of play? Because it's not that he doesn't look interested. He just, everything that he does this season has just not come off, and we've seen the odd glimpse where we have seen the quality that we've come to expect of a player like that. But then 90% of the time, it's not great to watch. A stray pass, not closing the ball down, getting the ball stuck under his feet, not being able to get away from defenders. It just seems that everything about his game at this current moment is just very frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I can't put on him. It's like you said, obviously when we played against Wimbledon, he played the ball through to Danny, and we scored from that. Brilliant ball. There has been games, I think he has done well, but then, like you say, the other games he's just not got into it. It's like he's elsewhere. He's on the pitch, but his mind is elsewhere. So yeah, I can't pinpoint what it is that is sort of lacking. Or I don't know, confidence thing. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's a very strange one with Hiram Boateng this season. Because like you say, there are moments where he does create good chances, or he plays balls through, or does whatever. But it's just this past few weeks. Is it a case of we know that we've potentially got better on the bench in players like Law and players coming back, that you're thinking like he's only there because he has to be there for now?
Yeah, it could be. It's he's. But then if that was me, I'd be proving myself and showing that I should be on the pitch and starting. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is because I'm not sure. Is it?
I'm not sure.
The fact is, if we had no injury problems, Law, Danny Johnson, and others would not even be in the squad.
Yeah,
that's the cold truth of it. I mean, I gave Boateng credit for his sublime pass at Wimbledon, but it wasn't that much earlier in the season when Law did exactly the same thing for Swan, with an almost identical pass. So he's got it in his locker as well. But I don't want it in his locker. I want it on the field.
Of course, don't forget to keep all your comments coming in. We're going to take a very quick break now. and we'll be back after this. And of course, Mansfield Matters is proud to be part of the talkSPORT fan network.
I didn't even
Also-
get time to make a cup of tea then, did I?
I know, it glitched and lagged, and I don't know what's going on tonight. I think the missus must still be running water simulations on the computer, so I think my computer is just a bit slow tonight. Always
Keep
blame
blaming
somebody
your computer,
else.
Cam.
Usually, it used to be Simon's fault. Bring back an old one. Always Simon's fault. Oh, right. Carrying on the whole Stockport conversation, I think somebody that's very much due a bit of credit from the Stockport game would be someone like Rhys Oates, who came on in the second half, and in most people's opinions, from what I've read on social media in different interviews, changed the game when he came on. It provided that intensity, that bit of spark that we so crucially lacked in the first half, Clive.
Yeah, he brought energy. That was the main thing. It does worry me slightly because he clearly isn't match ready yet, and he could only come on for a short period of time. And such is the nature of the bloke that he gives everything and a bit more. And I just winced every time I saw him do anything physical. And there was one point where he was clattered down on the touchline. I thought, here we go. This is another 3 months out of the game. He needs to just be a bit more savvy, I think. I applaud his attitude towards trying to win every ball, and he certainly did bring that bit of impetus with him. We needed it, and I'm sure that if he continues to recover from his injury, he'll get more pitch time on Wednesday. But I don't see him being a starter.
No, and obviously some echoing going off somewhere. It is frustrating when you do watch Rhys play by the virtue that he's not 100% fit. So is it Nigel forcing him into playing? Is it him thinking like, oh no, I am actually fit and ready to play? It's very frustrating because, like Clive said, Keeley, when he was clattered on that touchline, you are thinking he's injured again because he went down and he didn't get up for a while, and it looked like he was clutching his shoulder. I was on the wrong side of the field to see it. I was on the end where the exits were, and I couldn't really see much because there were a crowd of bodies and a net and a bunch of goalposts in the way. So obviously it's frustrating when you do see him go down injured. And I know he goes down injured a lot just by clattering into players, but knowing what he's done this season twice, is it a little bit sort of like heart in mouth moment when he does go down and he doesn't get up for a good few seconds after?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was a bit like Clive. Every time he went for a ball and did a challenge, my hands were covering my face. So yeah, and then obviously when he went down, because we was right in front of where it happened, and yeah, it was a bit heart-wrenching to see him laid there and thinking exactly the same, like, oh God, here we go again. Do you know what I mean? That's it. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. But when he is obviously on the pitch, he does bring that energy, and he does bring, the fight for that goal, and he gives 110%.
Is it a little bit frustrating then when the fact that we do rely on him so heavily? We were so flat before he came on, and I don't know whether it's just the fact that we were able to lump the ball up to him and he could run onto it and chase after it, but it just felt like it gave the whole team a lift. Does it feel like that potentially the team relies on him just as well as the fans do?
Yeah, definitely. I do think that as soon as he comes on, I think the energy within the fans sort of changes, especially on the pitch. It changes. He just brings that little boost that we need. And maybe if he was match fit, him starting and seeing what he what he can bring. But obviously, at the moment, that's not the case.
He's he's also a bit like Harry Kane at the moment. He's having to make everything himself because the service isn't there, and because of that, I think he overreaches on lots of stuff, and that puts him in that jeopardy again. That has to change. It doesn't help that we're missing Swan at the same time, because two forward players with pace, you can't have them both out and expect to play well up front. It's also put more pressure on Keeler Dunn, because he's had to take a much more advanced role than I think his natural game would want him to have. And he's made himself not quite fit as well. In fact, when you look at the team that's playing, then none of them are particularly 100%. Kilgore's playing carrying an injury. Hewitt carrying an injury. These things are happening. My query is what happened. Why are our players getting so short of fitness? And it's not just injuries they're incurring on the match day. In fact, it's far from it. Normally, people standing on people's feet in training, and obviously you can't legislate against people getting poorly, and they will do. But we really, I've never. I mean, in over 50 years of watching this club, I've never ever known a situation as many injuries and long-term injuries as we've had this season.
Obviously, you lose. Right, we'll go through injuries and illnesses and whatever. You lose Reece Oates for an extended period of time because he's done his shoulder. You lose Anthony Hartigan twice because he's popped his shoulder out, and then he does it a third time.
We never needed Anthony Hartigan, if I'm being brutal.
Yeah, fair point. I think that's partially the reason why Law's probably had to take a back step, because we have brought someone like Hartigan in, because they just don't have the space for them usually. If we've got a fully fit team, we have probably got one of the strongest benches in the league, just because the quality that we've got. But it seems that near enough every player that we bought in this season has been injured or is long-term injured at the moment. You think Reed, Hartigan, Johnson, all injured at the moment. And then even you throw into the mix that Christy Pym, and I know Christy Pym's coming for a lot of slack recently. I don't think he's performed all that great. But Saturday, he was absolutely fantastic. But less than 7 days earlier, people were saying, no, shouldn't be playing, shouldn't want him gone, get Flinders in for the rest of the season. I think he's very harsh on Pym, because I think he is a good shot stopper. I think he's got a lot of developing to do. But he's another player that obviously he missed a couple of games through injury, broke his finger. Then he missed out a couple of times through illness. So you've got to think, like, not only have you got a defence that's changed quite a lot this season, but if you're a defender, you're also thinking, like, my goalkeeper, I'm not 100% sure if they're 100% ready to be playing through illness or injury. It's a very frustrating situation.
Flinders played 3 games and we won all 3. I think, personally, it is only a personal judgment. I prefer Flinders to Pym. But I accept that Pym's a decent goalkeeper, and we're fortunate in having 2. I don't like the way that he's guaranteed a game, all things being equal. I think that's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, the way that Clough worded it.
I think, presumably, therefore, Flinders entered into this agreement, because otherwise he'd be chuntering about it. But I think you play your best players, and once the player's on the pitch and is performing well, you don't change him. And I just don't buy this preference that Clough's got. But that's his style, isn't it? Once he's latched onto players that he trusts and wants and likes, that's it. The others have to battle twice as hard to get it to penetrate the team. And even when players are getting knocked out through illness or injury, they're still not guaranteed a place. I mean, we said at one point that he'd sooner play Pym with his fingers strapped together than bring Flinders on. I thought he rushed him back too soon as it was. But, it's not my decision, is it? Thank goodness.
Obviously, it's not. And it has been frustrating to watch over the last couple of games. You think back to he didn't crown himself in glory against Salford. He was potentially a bit rash against Northampton, giving away the penalty. He couldn't have done anything about the goal on Saturday, Keeley, but there were moments in that game where he had to be on his toes. He had to make good saves and get down low to quite a few chances, and then also quite a good Chris Hussey free kick that he managed to turn away. And it's something that maybe Flinders hasn't got. It's sort of like that nimbleness, being a bit bigger and a bit older, is maybe something that he he hasn't got, and that Pim has shown this season, especially on Saturday. It was, you can't fault him for the goal, but other than that, it was fantastic on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday, I'd say, is one of the better games that I've seen him play recently. Flinders, I love him. I wish he could play every week. I am a Flinders fan. Obviously, they are very opposite. There's some talents that obviously Flinders has got, and then some that Pim's got. Pim, for me, he sort of leaves things to the last in a few games, and he literally scares me when he does that. And yeah, but Saturday, I can't. It was one of his better games, and like you say, some of the saves that he made, maybe Flinders might not have. So yeah, definitely Saturday was hopefully the turning point for him, and he can get back to fitness and be the goalkeeper that we need him to be.
But will he be our goalkeeper next season? That's the big question. He's only on loan to us, and one of our viewers has said the reason that he's guaranteed a game is probably because that was the deal we struck with Peterborough, that if we're going to have him on loan, we have to play him, which was the same with Bishop last year. I'm sure that's right. But will he be with us at the end of the season? Because Bishop isn't here this year, is he? So, my view is we've got a player on our books on contract. He should get preference. But yes, I'm not the guy who recruits these players, and I'm sure it's not unusual what's happened. It's just I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure the logic somewhere behind the whole Pim Flinders thing, because there must be something in Pim's contract that he has to start every game, or it's the fact that Clough doesn't rate Flinders. But then you question why did he bring him in? Because that's a really strange one. Yes, he was coming back from quite a serious injury, but the same again. Why bring a player in if you're not going to play him? I think it's very harsh on Flinders.
Flinders has had some tremendous games against us in previous years.
Yeah, definitely.
He's been a good League One, League Two goalkeeper, no question.
Yeah, Christopher Ellison in the comments says, I thought Pim had a few shaky moments on Saturday as well in the second half. Defence seems more comfortable with Flinders behind them, but it's clear that Pim will play as long as he's fit. Yeah, he did. I think it's difficult because when you are playing such a direct team as what Stockport are, it was always going to be difficult because they would just lump balls into the box from out wide. There were quite a lot of balls that Pim didn't deal with, that I thought he just stayed on his line a little bit too much. I don't think he particularly had a bad game, but it was just a case of there were just moments where, like you said, it does scare you sometimes. And Carl in the comments says, apparently he's the highest player in the league at $4,500 a week. Pim, in my opinion, is not worth that much wage. A good keeper, but wouldn't break my back signing him last season. And Adam Crump in the comments says, my son is in Flinders camp and I'm in camp Pim, but happy with either between sticks. Neither a Rod Arnold or a Kevin Hitchcock legend, though.
The one thing that Pim has in common with Rod Arnold is they're both not tall enough to be goalkeepers. Yeah, if you're good enough, you're tall enough.
Well, yeah, very true. Obviously, everybody's entitled to an opinion, and it's always interesting when you get families that are so split like that. I think it's been a common theme that everybody sort of like had their favourite players over the years, and then we've been fortunate that we've had a good few keepers over the last few years, and now you've got to the point where, well, I'd probably say your backup Cobley is probably better than your first choice, but
it's a good position to be in. I think that's where we need to leave that one.
Yeah, it is. Faiz Ahad says in the comments, if Ollie Clark played for Man United, they wouldn't have lost 7-0 at Anfield. It's a very valid point. I thought Ollie Clark was fantastic. He marshalled that midfield very well, and it felt like he was maybe being overrun a little bit because he pretty much had the whole midfield to himself. I don't think Hiram Boateng and Kieran Wallace particularly really showed any worth of being on the pitch on Saturday. Obviously, Wallace did come off for Danny Johnson eventually, but it just Ollie Clark has very much been a very strange player for Mansfield. You look at last season, and you think towards the end of last season, you were thinking Clark's probably going to be gone at the end of this season. And then this season, he's been absolutely fantastic. And on Saturday, it very much showed when Lucas did score, he was one of the first to be running over. And I know Clark shows quite a lot of passion anyway, but he hugging the fans, high-fiving fans. And as a captain, that's what you want. And I think when Clark was out injured for a bit this season, it showed that we lacked that sort of like the Mr. Mansfield that we always want in the midfield. You look at someone like Jamie Maguire in the past, that's the sort of player that we want and we need. And Clark hasn't showed it all the time, but this season, and especially the last few months, he's very much took on the captain mantra, even though he was the captain last season and the season before. It's only really been this season where he's really showed his class and how crucial he is for us.
I think what Clark has that we value is the fact that he's not frightened of having a shot either. You know, our other midfielders tend to get it to a position where the shot's on and they refuse to do it. They're looking for someone else, and he's quite happy to have a belt at it. And he scored some cracking goals, hasn't he? You think about one against Doncaster, was it? That was a corker. But he needs a bit of help, and he didn't get it from Boateng. There has to be some way of giving him a bit more confidence through help in midfield. And again, it's just down to the injury thing. If Maris was there, he's a different player as well. He was a different player when Lapsley was on form, which wasn't for much of the season, I have to say. But you know, the circumstances are that in times of crisis, someone has to stand up, and I think he's doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Tim in the comments says Clough needs to change a squad mentality for every game from game one. He seems to believe he's fielded the best 11 and sticks with them. If he made the 5 substitutions in every game, would not suffer the same injury. Clough doesn't seem to share the game minutes out, so everyone gets a fair amount of game time under their belts. And obviously, yeah, he's hit the nail on the head there, to be honest, being able to make the 5 subs and avoiding injury. And I think a lot of the games this season we could have done that. The freak incident of 3 players going down injured at Bradford aside, that was just a bizarre situation. Same against Doncaster, we lost 2 in the opening first half an hour. But it does very much seem that Clough has got his favourites, and obviously Boateng is one of them. But it seems that Ollie Clark has now fallen into that category. He doesn't like to take Clark out of the side if he doesn't need to, and usually, well, definitely last season he was the first one to go. Keely, what's your thoughts on? Because it's frustrating to watch because we know what he's able to bring, but yeah, you look back to previous seasons, he'd be the first player to be dropped for Longstaff, for Murphy, for Quinn, etc. Clive seems to have dropped out. Technical issues. We'll carry on while we try and fix this. But yeah, what's your thoughts? Because Ollie Clark, he is club captain, but it just seems that in previous seasons he played a bit part plays, and now this season he's definitely one of our most influential and one of more reliable.
Yeah, I think he's obviously confident and he's had the right player around him. Like, you know, like we've said, Maris, when he's on the pitch with him, they play brilliantly. I think obviously, you know, when him and Quinn are together, they're always passing works. We're definitely that midfield, and the only person that is doing anything in midfield is Ollie Clark. And I agree, obviously, what you've said about Clough having his favourites. And if Ollie Clark is one of his favourites at the minute, then that's a good thing. And he deserves it.
Yeah, it does. Siggy Lee in the comments says Ollie Clark's an unsung hero. Missed him when injured. Only player that rarely gets proper stuck in the midfield. I partially, slightly disagree with the last bit about getting stuck in the midfield. I think Kieran Wallace does that, but I think he gets stuck in too much sometimes, especially picking up bookings in the first minute at Northampton. But it's a fair point. I think Clark, we do miss him very much when he is injured. And then Carl in the comments, if it'll Restream's having a mare tonight. The thing with Jason Law is it's a bit like the Jack Thomas situation. Here he has the ability and has some played great games for the club. Obviously, Clough doesn't fancy him like Evans did with Jack. I think he will be gone become the end of the season. Same with Jim, obviously referring to Jimmy Knowles, who's extended his loan to Kettering alongside Owen Mason until the end of the season. So good luck to them, because obviously it's great to have good links with clubs where they can go out and get minutes. Somebody did mention in the comments that it was a bit the Law situation being a bit like Alistair Smith. And I think it's great being able to have these players, but send them out on loan and get them minutes. And I know we've not been able to do that with Law because of essentially needed him because of injuries. It is frustrating that even when we've got a fully fit side, he's sat in the stands week in, week out, Clive. And obviously it is frustrating for us as fans, but it's got to be frustrating for Law as well, because yes, he's our longest serving player and he's still considered one of the younger ones, but he's older than some of the first team players that we've got. I'm more sort of like Davis Keeler-Dunn, who plays pretty much the same sort of position and same sort of role within the squad.
There's always going to be players that don't quite make it in a squad, and that's inevitable. I think one of the saddest things about football at our level, and I guess it's true in the entire leagues now, there isn't a competitive reserve league.
No.
And I think if players who are not commanding a place in the first team have an opportunity to show and shine elsewhere on a competitive stage, that gives the club a lot more chance to either develop them to play them in the first 11 or to move them on because they're in the shop window. And if I had a magic wand, I'd bring back the reserve league. I think it needs to be regionalised for cost benefit, but I think there's a case for it. We get the odd competitive cup game where you can play your younger players and put a few returning players in there. We used to have one week in, week out. We used to play on Wednesdays in my day. I just want to pick up on one of the comments as well. Adam says, is Boateng the new whipping boy? Well, no, maybe, but only if he deserves it. No, I don't believe in berating players, but I do think he was the worst performing player on Saturday. That doesn't make him a wrong, and it just means he didn't perform on Saturday. And he makes the point that Aikens used to get a stick from people, and he did, and most of that was unfair, and because people weren't taking into account the absolute amount of work that Aikens did off the ball and the opportunities he created for other players. Sadly, you can't say the same about Hiram at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't want to have a go at Hiram. It's not fair, but I mean, he didn't have a good game.
No, he didn't. And I don't think it's a case of any player particularly being whipping boys. I just think it's apparently obvious when players aren't playing to their full potential, when the rest of the team are. You look at some games this season where we've been absolutely fantastic, but players like Boateng and Aikens have just been sort of like passengers in situations. Richard in the comments, in reply to what Adam said, I've not seen anything from Boateng yet to make me think he was a good signing. He has the talent, no doubt, but he just isn't doing enough. And that hits the nail on the head. Keeley, obviously, we signed him and we knew what a talent he was, but has he done anything particularly to impress you so far? There's been the odd pass or the odd through ball where he has brought a goal or linked up play, but as a whole, you think, yes, we got him. Did we get him on a free or did we pay for him?
I think we paid for him. He was superb in pre-season.
Yeah, but have we seen anything in the last 5-6 months that would say, yeah, actually, that's been money well spent?
No, for me personally, I don't see what he brings. Obviously, like Clive said, when Akins, he holds the ball off. There's a lot of stuff that he does to support other players. Boateng, for me, it doesn't bring anything. Like Sam, for instance, it was getting the ball, but then he couldn't hold the players up, or he'd get it wrapped around his feet, and it's not, for me. There's nothing that I can say. Yeah, he's been outstanding, and I know why we signed. So no, there's nothing for me.
Obviously, just before we start, we wrap things up with podcast predictions. Obviously, we've got to touch upon Lucas Akins at the end. Does it fix all the worries of the 92 minutes prior to the goal going in for you, Clive? Because obviously, it's great that we've got the equalising goal in the end, and it's great that Lucas got the goal and maybe silenced a couple of the haters. But does it forgive the lack of effort in the previous 92? I think it was a difficult game to watch from the stands.
I don't think it's fair to say there's a lack of effort. I think it's the application of the effort that for most players that didn't pay off. And that's probably because not all of them are playing in the right position with the right partners and because of the state of the squad. But no, it was a poor game, and Mansfield didn't really deserve to take anything from the game. That's why I said earlier we stole the point. Don't get me wrong, happy to take a point away from the game. If I was a supporter of Stockport County and saying that just goes to prove you need a second goal, and they should have gone harder and got one. So these things have a habit of sorting themselves out. But no, we didn't play well.
No, Keely, your just last thoughts on the last goal, on the late goal again. What is it about Mansfield and late goals with big away days? Obviously with Bradford earlier this season, another sold out away end, and Lucas does it right in front of the away fans again.
Yeah, it's something that we've sort of got renowned to do, and people are noticing that that's what Mansfield do, grab a late equaliser. And it's better than walking away with nothing. It's not the 3 that we would have liked. But, I think they need to obviously put that into not just the last 5 minutes of the game. It needs to be a bit consistent from get-go, and then hopefully we're not be getting these late equalisers, because it was awful to watch. I think I watched most of it through my fingers over my eyes.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, I will say we're running out of time, so that's all we've got time for actual content. Before we go, though, obviously it is podcast predictions, and the regular host, boss person, Craig, has done us a little video for podcast predictions. So we'll listen to that, we'll watch that, and then we'll get our predictions after it. Don't forget, you can get your predictions in using the link on the social medias. Don't forget, it's got to be an hour and 1 minute before kick-off on Wednesday night. Listen to Craig's.
Hello. Yes, you didn't think I was going to pop up, did you, on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast? Well, here I am, predictably in the predictions bit, but there you go. Well done, Cam. Keep it going tonight. Really appreciate you sitting in, as always. Right, podcast predictions time. Grimsby at home Wednesday night. I nearly said tomorrow night, which would mean Tuesday, which it's definitely not because they're in the FA Cup later today, which is Sunday. Very confusing. Anyway, Grimsby at home Wednesday night, One Call Stadium, first of 3 home games, I want to say. On the back of that late equaliser at Stockport, I am going to go for a very narrow... Is this going to be pessimist, Craig? No, it's not. I'm going to go for a very narrow 1-0 win. First goal is going to come in the 72nd minute. Look forward to hearing your predictions. Hope I'm right. And pessimist Craig definitely will return for the Sutton game. You all know why. Let us know your predictions. As always, use the link in the description, and you must do it 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff. I'm saying it because Cam will probably forget. See you later.
Can I just qualify that? You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff to make your predictions. That's the latest you can make.
This is the latest, yes. So he's loaded the video into Restream. It says Craig's grim prediction. For once, it's not actually a grim prediction, so I'm very impressed. Clive, we'll go with you first. We'll get your prediction for
3-1
Wednesday
win.
night.
3-1 win.
3-1.
Yeah, 28 minutes.
28 minutes. Keely, what's your prediction for Wednesday night at home to Grimsby?
2-1 was and 23rd minute.
23rd. Grimsby got battered at the weekend. Going to be tired legs. I'm going to go I'm going to be confident. I'm going to 3-0 win. I'm confident of a clean sheet. And I will go I'll go the 5th minute. I think we're due an early goal again. We had a couple back in January, but we'll go again. We'll get Nathan
my
Allen.
3-1. Sorry, Cam. My 3-1. It's a Boateng hat-trick.
You don't get bonus points for that one, mate. They'll get bonus points.
If it's right,
right then. We'll get Nathan Allen's and Nick's before Wednesday. Don't forget you can get involved. Podcast predictions in the link in the description. Don't forget you've got to get it in 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff on Wednesday. I just want to thank Keely and Clive for joining us. Don't forget Saturday will be the Mansfield Town Her Game 2 dedicated fixture. So if you see Keely, Emma, Kira, Monica, me, anybody doing the Her Game 2 stuff, don't forget to come say hi. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you Keely and Clive for joining me and making sure that it's not just me on my own. And hopefully Clive will join us on Thursday. You with us Thursday, Clive?
I think so.
You think so? Keely, you up for Thursday? No doubt somebody will drop out.
But I'm working.
Brilliant. So, welcome back anytime, and thank you for coming on, of course. Thank you to everybody that's commented and listened tonight. Don't forget, obviously, to get your podcast predictions in. With Wednesday's game being on Wednesday, we will have a podcast on Thursday. Craig should be back to host that one because I think I'm working that night as well. So 7:30 on Wednesday-ish. Obviously don't forget to do your podcast predictions. So thank you, Keely. Thank you, Clive. And we will see you all on Thursday.
Well, that's all we've got time for on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. My thanks, as ever, to the podcast panel and to you guys at home for watching and for listening. Oh, and I suppose I should also thank Cam as well for sitting in the hot seat on the show tonight in my absence. We should be back between the Grimsby and the Sutton game, but we might not be. So, make sure you're following us on all things social media to find out. We are at MTFC Matters in all the good places. And of course, don't forget to get involved in podcast predictions. The link for the Grimsby game is now in the description. And of course, we'll have the Sutton game later on in the week as well. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast, where with 11 games to go, it is still all to play for. But please, for goodness sake, boys, just improve the performance a little bit, because 11 more last-minute equalisers, or dare we hope winners, I don't think our heart rates can take it. We'll see you next time on the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast, proud to be part of the talkSPORT fan network. Good night.